Think about your red blood cells as tiny delivery vehicles moving oxygen through your body. On their surface, they carry molecular ID tags. These tags tell your immune system, I belong here. A blood group is simply a way of classifying which ID tags, called antigens, are present on those cells. Different people carry different sets of these tags, and that's why blood groups exist. The reason this matters is that your immune system is trained to attack cells with unfamiliar tags. If you receive blood with antigens you don't have, your antibodies can bind to those cells, make them clump together, and destroy them. That's why blood transfusions have to be carefully matched. So blood groups aren't abstract categories. They're real, inherited differences your immune system takes very seriously. The immediate reason blood groups differ is genetics. The instructions for building those surface antigens are written in your DNA. You inherit specific versions of blood group genes from your parents, just like you inherit eye color. Small genetic changes, like mutations or deletions, can alter whether an antigen is made, what it looks like, or whether it's missing entirely. Once a new version of a gene appears, it can be passed down through generations, creating stable variation in the population. The most familiar example is the ABO system. All red blood cells start with the same basic structure on their surface, called the H antigen. The ABO gene determines what happens next. One version of the gene adds a particular sugar to that structure, creating the A antigen. Another version adds a different sugar, creating the B antigen. A third version does nothing at all, leaving the H antigen unchanged, which gives you type O blood. If you inherit both A and B versions, your cells display both tags, and you're type AB. What makes ABO especially important is antibodies. People naturally carry antibodies against the A or B antigens they don't have. That's why an ABO mismatch can cause an immediate and dangerous transfusion reaction, even if it's your first transfusion. Those antibodies likely form early in life because common gut bacteria carry sugar patterns that resemble A or B antigens, training the immune system to react. Another major system is Rh, especially the RhD antigen. If the D antigen is present, you're Rh positive. If it's absent, you're Rh negative. Unlike ABO, people don't usually have anti-D antibodies unless they're exposed to the antigen, such as through a transfusion or during pregnancy. This is why Rh incompatibility can be dangerous for a second pregnancy if antibodies have already formed. ABO and Rh are just the most famous examples. In reality, humans have dozens of blood group systems and hundreds of known red cell antigens. Red blood cell membranes are packed with proteins and sugars, and genetic variation can affect any of them. Most of these differences are rare, but they become critically important for people who need frequent transfusions. The deeper question is why this diversity persists instead of one best blood type taking over. A major part of the answer is evolution, especially infectious disease. Many pathogens interact directly with blood group antigens. Some use them as entry points into cells. Others bind more easily to certain antigen patterns. For example, people who lack the Duffy antigen are largely resistant to one species of malaria, and this trait is very common in regions where that malaria was historically widespread. Different blood groups can also influence how severe an infection becomes, not just whether you get infected. With malaria, blood group O is associated with less severe disease because infected cells are less likely to stick to uninfected ones. No single blood group is best in all environments, so multiple types are maintained by natural selection. Finally, blood group frequencies vary around the world because of history. Migration, population bottlenecks, and random genetic drift can all shift which blood types are common in a region. Put it all together, and blood groups are the result of genetics, immune defense, evolution, and chance written directly onto your cells.